So I wanted to do a video about subconscious inspiration and various other types of inspiration. I'm using a selfie stick. This might be a bit weird. Yeah, so to me, the most important kind of inspiration is what I have sort of loosely coined subconscious inspiration, which is, for me, that means taking in a lot of things, usually kind of, well, not as many things as possible, but a lot, trying to absorb a really wide range of art, in particular music, and allowing it to naturally come from you in some form. Like, I think of certain groups that I really like. I think my favourite example of this is Animal Collective. You can hear a lot of different stuff in their music, but it's like it's all been like put into something and mixed together and kind of like squeezed from a tube, and you hear like little bits of all of these things, and they kind of like, it's kind of stimulating, and you recognise certain sounds and ideas and styles, or feelings, but they still sound totally unique. No one sounds like them. They're not copying anybody. They just have a very, very broad range of influences, which I'm sure they don't even think about probably when they're in the studio. They probably just they just make shit, and it comes out like that. So for me, I've found I often forget this when I'm having like a bad time creatively. I'll sort of forget this principle, and whenever I remember it, it's really helpful. Like instead of banging my head against a brick wall with music, I'll just make a point of going out a lot so that I can like listen to music, because I really enjoy listening to music while I'm walking. For me, that's like probably the best time, and so I'll just listen to a bunch of new albums that I haven't heard, or like maybe ones from people I like but stuff I haven't heard much of. And in particular, like, it's better when it's something that offers something a bit unique or different, like something that's specific. Say, for example, like, well, like if you hadn't heard like something like Death Grips before, or something quite extreme and distinct like that, and you listen to that a lot, it's inevitably gonna have an impact on you and have an influence on your music if you make music where that type of influence is even possible. So yeah, I think that's really helpful. I think it's not just in terms of sounds and styles and ideas. I think it's just energy. I think sometimes, especially with rap, like if I listen to a lot of the time for me, listening to like ignorant rap is really good. When I get into into sort of a rut, I'll just listen to like a kind of ignorant rap, or something that's maybe like kind of extreme or weird in some way, or someone who just has a really good flow, or something that sounds like something I haven't really heard much of before. And I find that if I do a lot of that, when I sit down to write, it's just easy, like, and I feel much more. I think hearing somebody performing at like a high level with a lot of energy and enthusiasm. Don't know if you can hear my stomach. Sorry, I haven't eaten today. It's just inspiring beyond even on a musical level. It's kind of like, I think it can really help to remind you why you do it. And it just puts something in you, even if you don't feel it at the time, even if you're just listening and not really noticing anything. I think it gives you something. It puts something in you that is really useful, and I'm sure this can be applied, well, I know it can definitely be applied to cinema and painting and all sorts of things like that. So yeah, I think that's really good. The other obvious kind of inspiration, which can go overboard at times, as it did in the example of like, say, This Is America by Childish Gambino, originally by Jace Harley as American Pharaoh. And you could hear in that they obviously like. It's weird because the song they made is better. Obviously, This Is America is a much better song, which goes without saying anyway, because of all the budget and everything, and all the collaborators and the time they spent on it. But it is better. It's a really good song, and I like it. I'm kind of glad that it exists, but clearly they heard his template, and they were like, okay, let's make a song based around this, allegedly, in my opinion, and a lot of people do that, and it can be really useful. I've had times where I've heard certain songs where I've like really I haven't wanted to imitate or copy or steal the song. I just wanted to make a song like that, that kind of sound, that kind of feeling. There's a song, "The Ride Home" by Jesse James Solomon, and I used to listen to it all the time. And every time I'd be like, I just want to make a beat like this, because I wanted the instrumental for it, and I've never been able to get it. And I'd always think like, oh, I wanted to make a beat like this. And every time I tried to do it, there would be like nothing like that song, but they would end up being quite good beats sometimes. They would usually be like nothing like what I'd intended though, And occasionally though, you can, some things are kind of easier to I won't say imitate, be inspired by in that way, like certain sounds, and occasionally you try to do like a certain thing, or you do something that's kind of inspired by a certain track and it works really well. But yeah, I think there's two things. One is you often, as I said, you end up making something that's really good, but kind of an accident, and that's great. And I think that kind of is like a very big part of making things in general, which I'm going to do a video on anyway. And two is, yeah, it's just too much of a fucking rip-off, and it sort of uses everything that's good about the original, or it literally steals melodies and things. But that again is a whole separate issue. But yeah, subconscious inspiration, use this to your advantage. Like, take these things in. It's just like fuel. If you think about it, like, we forget this, that the reason you're into the things you're into is because you spent years listening to it, and the reason you know how to make the things you know how to make is because you've spent years looking at or listening to similar things. So don't forget that that's what kind of built up your strength in that way. And so if you start sort of feeling weak creatively, just do that. That's like working out, or really it's like kind of nutrition. Practice is more working out, I suppose. But yeah, it's really helpful, I think, personally. I think almost everyone can get something out of it.